You ever have that one Christmas that changes everything yet? This was mine. I used to think Christmas could fix anything, no matter how rough the year got. December always felt like a reset button. Lights, laughter, fake smiles, and family pretending everything's fine. But that illusion, it shattered the night my own son shoved me to the ground, right in front of everyone. The house smelled like roasted turkey and cinnamon candles. Tree lights blinking like little lies. Snow outside, peace inside, or at least, that's what it looked like. Behind the laughter, though, was tension. You could feel it, heavy, silent, like the air before a storm. Daniel, my son, had been distant all week, barely spoke. Every time I tried checking in, I got some cold, short replies. Yeah, fine, whatever. You know that gut feeling when something's off. Yeah, that. I told myself he was just stressed. Work, money, life, the usual excuses moms make when their kids start slipping away. But that night, no excuse. Cliff prepared me for what came next. Daniel stood up so fast, his chair screeched across the floor. The sound sliced through the room. Everyone froze. Then boom, he shoved me. I hit the floor. My hands stung. The room went dead silent. All I could see were their faces. Shock, confusion, disbelief. In that second, I wasn't his mother anymore. I was a stranger. And that night, that was just the beginning of what broke me. And everything I thought I knew about my family. You ever have a sound you can't unhear? For me, it was that chair hitting the floor. Even hours later, it echoed in my head like it was still happening. I just sat there, on the floor staring up at my son, like I was seeing a stranger. The whole room froze. Mark, my husband, still clutching his fork mid-air. My daughter Emily, mouth open, but no sound. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Daniel was the first to move, his chest heaving like he'd just run a marathon. His eyes weren't angry anymore, just empty. That's when I whispered, "Daniel, sweetheart, what's going on?" He didn't answer, just grabbed his coat, muttered something low, and stormed out. The front door slammed, knocking down the Christmas wreath. The sound of it hitting the floor made me flinch. Emily started crying softly, and Mark just sat down, folded his napkin, looked right at me and said, "You knew this was coming." Those words hit harder than the shove. What's that supposed to mean? I snapped, my voice cracked. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Mark didn't even look mad, just exhausted. "You push him, Ellen. Always have. You try to fix everything, and he's sick of it." I wanted to scream that I wasn't the one pushing anyone, that I was just trying to hold us together. But he just stood up, grabbed his beer, and walked away. And that's when Christmas night died. The lights still twinkled. The turkey still smelled sweet. But the warmth was gone, replaced by something cold, hollow. I sat there till 2:47 a.m., replaying it all. The shove, the look in Daniel's eyes, that silence. By morning, I'd made up my mind I was gonna find him. I was gonna fix this. But when the phone rang the next morning, I realized some things can't be fixed. The phone rang at 7:03 a.m. I remember because I'd barely slept an hour. My heart jumped. Maybe it was Daniel. Maybe he was sorry. Maybe he wanted to come home. But it wasn't him. "Mrs. Cooper," a man's voice said. "This is Officer Reynolds with the county police." Instant chill down my spine. "Is my son okay?" I asked. "He's not hurt," the officer said quickly, "but he was brought in last night after an incident outside a bar downtown." My stomach dropped. "An incident?" I asked. "He got into a fight," the officer said. "He'd been drinking. We're not pressing charges, but we need Simeone to pick him up." I hung up, turned to Mark, told him what happened. He didn't even flinch, just muttered, "Guess he finally hit rock bottom." The drive to the station felt endless. Snow falling, roads slick, silence so thick you could choke on it. When we walked inside, everyone looked that quiet, pitying look people give when they're just glad it's not their family. Daniel was sitting on a bench, head down, hands clasped, knuckles raw. When he looked up, his voice was flat. "Hey Mom, you okay?" I asked. He shrugged. "Yeah, I've been worse." While Mark signed papers, I noticed something sticking out of Daniel's jacket. A folded photo. My heart stopped. I knew that picture. It was Daniel and Emily, back when smiles came easy. I almost asked about it, but his face said don't. He walked right past me, out into the cold, didn't even say goodbye. That's when I realized, this wasn't just one bad night. This was a storm that had been building for years. When we got home, Daniel went straight to his room. Mark turned on the TV like nothing happened, but my mind was stuck on that photo. That picture used to hang in the hallway the last summer before everything fell apart. Before Mark's long work trips. Before Daniel's temper. Before Emily stopped talking to her brother. Altogether. Later that night, I found it on the kitchen counter. Folded. Torn, worn, like someone couldn't stop touching it. I picked it up and whispered, "You used to smile like this every day." Daniel appeared behind me. "You still have that?" he asked. "I found it," I said softly. "It was in your jacket." He crossed his arms. "It's just a photo. Don't make it a thing." "I'm not," I said. "It's just been missing for months." He looked away. "Yeah, I took it. Didn't think you'd notice." "Of course I noticed. I notice everything you do, Daniel. I'm your mother." That hit him wrong. His shoulders tensed. "That's the problem," he muttered. "What's that supposed to mean?" He met my eyes. "You never stopped trying to control everything. Even after Dad messed up, even after it all went to hell, you acted like pretending could fix it, but it didn't. It made it worse." "Daniel, what are you talking about?" I asked, my heart pounding. He just shook his head, grabbed the photo, and walked out. The door slammed. Again. Same sound, same silence. And standing there, alone in that kitchen, I realized something. I'd been so busy trying to hold us together, I didn't notice we'd already fallen apart. But what I didn't know, that photo was just the beginning of what Daniel was hiding. That night, after Daniel stormed out again, the house went quiet, too quiet. Even the ticking clock on the wall felt loud, like it was mocking me. Mark was in the living room, pretending to watch some late-night football rerun, beer in hand. He didn't say a single word, not about the fight, not about the photo, nothing. I stood in the doorway, waiting, just waiting for him to look up, to ask if I was okay. He never did. "Are we seriously not gonna talk about this?" I finally said. He didn't look away from the screen. "What's there to say? Our son pushed me. Mark. He's drinking. He's 23, Ellen." He cut me off. "He's a grown man. You can't baby him forever." "That's not what this is about," I snapped back. "Something's wrong with him. He's not the same kid." Mark sighed, finally turning down the TV. Then he said it calm, quiet, but sharp. "You ever think maybe he's like this because of us?" I froze. "What's that supposed to mean?" He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You think kids don't notice? The fights, the nights I didn't come home, the silence. You'd think that disappears when they grow up." I wanted to argue. I really did. But the truth sat heavy in my chest. He wasn't wrong. Still, hearing it out loud hurt. "You think I don't blame myself every day for that?" I whispered. Mark didn't answer. He just turned the volume back up, drowning me out with the sound of a gamma thought. Didn't matter. That was it for me. I grabbed my coat and keys. Didn't even answer when he asked where I was going. The cold hit me like a slap as I stepped outside. I didn't have a plan. I just drove. I checked Daniel's favorite spots, his buddy Tyler's house, the all-night diner, the gas station by the highway. Nothing. By the time I finally gave up and drove home, it was almost 3 a.m. Snow falling, streets empty, that kind of quiet that gets inside you. Then my headlights hit the driveway, and I saw it, Daniel's car, parked out front. Relief hit me for half a second, until I noticed the driver's door was wide open. Engine off. Radio playing some old rock song. Barely a whisper. I ran up, calling his name. "Daniel." No answer. He wasn't in the car. But on the passenger seat was a fast food bag, a half-empty bottle of whiskey, and that Sammy photo. Except now, something was written on the back. 5 words. In black marker. "Ask Dad what really happened." My hands went cold. I just stood there in the snow, staring at those words until my fingers went numb. That's when I knew. This wasn't just anger. This wasn't rebellion. My son was trying to tell me something I wasn't supposed to know. And deep down, I already feared the answer. I didn't sleep that night. COULDN. Single quotes T. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at that photo, flipping it over again and again. Those 5 words glared up at me every time. Ask Dad what really happened. What happened when? By sunrise I was still there. Mark shuffled in, rubbing his eyes like it was any other morning. He poured his coffee, glanced at me. "You've been up all night?" I nodded. "Where were you last night?" He frowned. "Right here, watching the game. You know that." I slid the photo across the table. He looked down. "That old picture, what about it?" I flipped it over. "Read the back." For half a second, the color drained from his face. He tried to hide it, but I saw. "What does it mean, Mark?" He set the photo down too carefully. "It means Daniel's drunk and stirring things up." Don't lie to me. Not now. He took a slow sip, eyes on the window. Ellen, there are things you don't understand. Then make me understand. Silence. Then he stood. Not now. I've got work. Work. I snapped. Our son is falling apart and you're clocking in. He froze, jaw tight. You think this is just about him? You think I wanted any of this? His voice cracked. 27 years, and I'd never heard that sound from him. What did you do, Mark? No answer. He just grabbed his coat and left. Door slam. Same sound. Same silence. I couldn't sit there anymore. I grabbed my keys and drove nowhere in particular, just searching. I checked Daniel Spock's Tyler's place, the gas station, the all-night diner. Nothing. By the time I turned back home, it was nearly 3 a.m., snow falling sideways, streets empty. Then my headlights caught his car. Parked out front, door wide open. Radio whispering some old rock song. I ran to it. Daniel, no answer. He wasn't inside. Just a fast food bag, a half-empty bottle, and the photo now with something scrawled on the back. Asked Dad what really happened. My hands went numb. He was telling me something I was never supposed to know. Morning came, and I found him at the old park on Willow Road. His spot since he was a kid. He was on the bench, hood up, eyes red. Daniel, I said softly, please, talk to me. He didn't look up. You talked to him yet? Your father? I tried. He won't tell me. Daniel gave this bitter little laugh. Yeah, figures. Then you tell me, I said, sitting beside him. What am I missing? He turned, voice rough. You really don't know, do you? Know what? He stared straight ahead. Dad's been lying to you for years. My stomach twisted. About what? He swallowed hard. About me. About that night when I was 15, the night everything changed. The wind picked up, howling through the swings. He said it was an accident. Daniel whispered, but it wasn't. He covered it up. And you never knew. I could barely breathe. What do you mean, covered it up? He looked down. Ask him about the accident on Ridgeway Road. Ridgeway Road. The sirens. The night he came home late. He said some kid had crashed his car. That was 8 years ago. Daniel, I asked, voice shaking. What did your father do? He stood, stuffing his hands in his pockets. He didn't just ruin someone's life, Mom. He ruined mine. And then he walked away, leaving me on that frozen bench, clutching the photo like it could keep my heart from breaking. That's when it hit me. We weren't just a broken family. We were built on a lie. I could barely get the key in the door. My hands were shaking so bad, I almost dropped it twice. Daniel's words kept echoing in my head. Ask him about Ridgeway Road. That name alone twisted my stomach. Ridgeway Road, just a quiet stretch of highway outside town. Nothing special until that night. I still remember it. Distant sirens, red lights flashing through the kitchen window. Mark came home late, face pale, voice low. Said there'd been an accident near the bridge. Told me not to worry, and I didn't not. Until now, when I walked inside, Mark was already at the kitchen table. TV off. No beer, no game. Just him, hands clasped. Eyes lost somewhere far away. He looked up, like he'd been waiting for me. We need to talk, I said. He nodded. Yeah, I figured. I sat across from him. What happened on Ridgeway Road? He didn't flinch, but his jaw tightened. That tiny flicker of guilt, I saw it. Daniel told you, he said quietly. He told me you covered something up, that you lied. I need the truth. Mark. He rubbed his face, looked suddenly older. It was a long time ago. He was just a kid. We all made mistakes. That's not an answer. He exhaled. Fine. You want the truth. That night, Daniel was driving. He wasn't supposed to be. He'd taken my truck. He and some friends had been drinking. They lost control coming down the hill and hit another car. My breath caught. Was anyone hurt? He nodded slowly. A man. Local guy. He survived, but barely. Daniel panicked and ran. He was 15. Ellen, scared out of his mind. I covered my mouth. Oh my God. I found the truck before the cops did, Mark said. His voice cracked. I told them I'd been the one driving. Said I'd been drinking. That Daniel didn't know. They believed me. It was the only way to protect him. I stared at him. You lied to the police. I lied for our son. He snapped. I wasn't gonna let him lose everything before his life even started. But what about the other man? His family? Mark looked down. He moved away after the settlement. I paid what I could. I thought it was over. My heart pounded so loud, I could barely hear myself. So Daniel's been carrying that secret all these years. Mark nodded. I thought I was saving him, but he never forgave himself. For a moment, Everything inside me went still. Now I understood the anger, the drinking, the distance. He wasn't just mad. He was haunted. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. Mark's voice broke. "Because I couldn't stand to see that look in your eyes. Not for him. Not for me." I wanted to scream, to rewind the years, to take it all back. But all I could say was, "You didn't save him, Mark. You broke him." He didn't fight it. He just dropped his face into his hands and let it all collapse. I stood there, watching the man I thought I knew fall apart right in front of me, and I realized I couldn't stay. Not tonight. I grabbed my coat and keys, walked out into the freezing dark. The wind hit like knives. But I didn't care. I had one thought. One heartbeat loud promise. I had to find Daniel, because now that I finally knew the truth, I was terrified of what he might do next. I drove for hours that night, through every familiar street, every half-lit corner of town, the old diner, the bridge on Maple Dot, even the high school parking lot, where Daniel used to sneak out to meet his friends. The roads were slick with snow, glowing under the streetlights. The whole world felt quiet, like it was holding its breath. Every few minutes, I called his phone straight to voicemail. By the fourth try, my hands were shaking so bad, I could barely hit redial. And honestly, I didn't even know what I'd say if he answered. How do you tell your son you finally understand the pain he's been dragging around for half his life? How do you apologize for being blind to it? It was almost 2 a.m. when I saw it. His car, parked outside the old storage lot on the edge of town. The same one where his dad used to keep his tools. Back when things were still good. The headlights were off, but the driver's side door was cracked open just enough for snow to collect along the edge. I pulled in behind him, heart pounding so loud it drowned out the wind. "Daniel," I called softly, stepping out into the freezing air. No answer. Each step crunched louder than the last. When I opened the door, the smell of stale whiskey and cigarettes hit me first. Then I saw it, a folded scrap of paper on the seat. My hands trembled as I picked it up. Just one line, written in shaky ink. "I'm done running." My breath caught. Then I saw him, a shadow near the fence line, sitting on the hood of an old truck. Head down, cigarette glowing between his fingers. "Daniel," I said softly, walking toward him. He didn't move, didn't even look at me when he said, "He told you, didn't he?" "Yes," I whispered. "He did." He took a long drag, exhaled slowly. "Guess the big secret's out." "Huh." I stepped closer. "Why didn't you tell me, sweetheart? All these years you carried that alone." He laughed bitterly. "Because you wouldn't have believed me. You never wanted to see the cracks. You just wanted your perfect little family." His words stung because he was right. I'd spent years trying to patch our lives together, with smiles and silence, pretending love could fix anything. "Thought your father was protecting you," I said quietly, "but he was just burying you under his guilt." Daniel flicked a cigarette into the snow. "He thinks he saved me, but every time I close my eyes, I see that man's face. I hear the crash. You don't come back from that." I stepped closer, voice trembling. "You were 15, Daniel. You were scared." He shook his head. "Doesn't matter. I still did it. And Dad let me hide. That's worse." The pain in his voice, it wasn't anger anymore. It was exhaustion. Years of it. I reached out, resting a hand on his arm. "You can't keep punishing yourself, baby. What's done is done, but you can still make it right." For the first time, he looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw the boy he used to be, buried under all that guilt. "How?" he whispered. Before I could answer, headlights swept across the snow. Daniel stiffened. "It's him." I turned Mark's old pickup, rolling in slow, tires crunching through the ice. He climbed out, face pale, eyes full of regret. "Daniel," he called, voice shaking. "We need to talk." Daniel's fists clenched. "You've done enough talking." The air felt heavy, like the whole world was waiting for what came next. The three of us stood there under that flickering streetlight, mother, father, son, surrounded by ghosts we'd spent years trying to forget. "Please," I whispered, my voice breaking. "Don't do this here. Not like this." But deep down, I already knew. It was too late. The truth was out. And once you dig up the past, you can't ever bury it again. The sound of Mark's truck faded, but the tension didn't. The air was so still, it almost hurt to breathe. Snow kept falling. Soft, quiet, like the world had no idea how close we were to breaking. Mark stepped forward, slow and careful. "Daniel, please. I just want to talk." Daniel didn't move. His voice came out sharp. "Talk. That's all you've ever done. Talk, lie, and disappear when things got real." "Son, don't call me that." Daniel's shout sliced through the air. "You don't get to be Dad after what you did." Mark froze. You think I wanted any of this? I took the blame for you. I was trying to protect you. Daniel let out a bitter laugh. Protect me? You buried me alive, Dad. You made sure I'd spend the rest of my life hating myself. I tried to speak, but my voice just vanished. They weren't hearing me anymore. They were too far gone. Two men standing in the ruins of everything we used to be. Mark's voice dropped. You were 15, Daniel. You made a mistake. I wasn't gonna let that one night destroy your whole life. Daniel shook his head slowly. But it did. Every night, every damn day, I see it. The headlights, the crash. His face. You'd think that just goes away. Mark's eyes filled with tears. Then what do you want from me? Daniel's voice cracked. The truth. Tell them the truth. Tell everyone what really happened. Mark took a step back, panic flashing across his face. You don't understand. That'll ruin everything. My job. Our home. I don't care. Daniel yelled, voice shaking. You already ruined everything. The words hung there, cold and sharp. And for a moment, even the snow seemed to stop falling. I stepped between them. Stop, please. He's your son. He's not asking for punishment, Mark. He's begging for peace. Mark's jaw tightened. Peace. You think this'll give him peace? Daniel's fists clenched, his voice low and raw. It's the only way. He turned to walk away, but Mark grabbed his arm. Daniel, wait. Daniel jerked free. Don't touch me. Mark's voice broke. Please, you don't have to do this. Daniel paused, looked at him one last time, and in that moment, I saw everything. The pain, the guilt, the boy who'd never really grown past that night. Yeah, Dad, he said quietly. I do, because if I don't, I'll never be able to look at myself again. He climbed into the car, slammed the door, and the headlights flared, blinding in the snow. I pounded on the window, crying, Daniel, please, talk to me. But he didn't even look at me. The tires spun, then caught, and he was gone, swallowed by the darkness. And in that silence, with the snow still falling around us, I realized the truth we spent years hiding didn't save us. It destroyed us. The sound of Daniel's tires faded into the distance until all I could hear was the wind and my own heartbeat. For a long moment, I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring down that empty road like he might turn around any second. He didn't. Mark's voice cracked through the silence. We need to go after him. I turned on him, tears streaming. You think I'm just gonna stand here? Get in the car. We drove fast. Too fast. The tires hissed over the ice, headlights cutting through the darkness like so. Every mile felt like another piece of hope slipping away. I called his phone again, straight to voicemail. Daniel, it's Mom, I said, voice shaking. Please call me back. You don't have to do this. We'll figure it out together. I promise. I hung up. Silence. The kind that feels alive. Mark's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. He won't go far. He's probably just blowing off steam. You don't believe that? I whispered. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. We passed Ridgeway Road, the bridge half buried in snow. My stomach twisted, just seeing it. That's where it had all started. And maybe, where it was all ending. Turn around, I said suddenly. Mark frowned. What? Turn around? If he's going anywhere, it's there. He hesitated, then spun the wheel. The car skidded, fishtailed, but he caught it. When we reached the bridge, my heart stopped. Daniel's car sat at the side of the road, headlights off, engine still running. Oh God, I breathed. Mark jumped out before we'd even stopped. I followed, slipping on the ice as we ran. The driver's door was open. The snow around it trampled. The river below, dark, slow, silent. Daniel, I screamed. My voice vanished into the cold. No reply. Mark's flashlight swept the bridge, the guardrail, then froze. On the hood of Daniel's car lay that same photo, the one that started everything. But this time, something was written on the back. Shaky handwriting, dark ink. I can't carry this anymore. My legs nearly gave out. I gripped the rail, gasping. No, please, no. Mark was already down the embankment, calling his name again and again. I grabbed my phone, dialing 911 with shaking hands. My son's missing, I said, barely breathing. He might be near the river. The dispatcher's voice was calm. Ma'am, stay where you are. Help is on the way. Minutes later, red and blue lights lit up the snow. Voices shouted, radios crackled. Search crews moved like shadows through the dark. One officer touched my shoulder gently. We'll find him, he said. But his eyes said something else. Mark was still at the water's edge, yelling Daniel's name until his voice broke. And all I could think was, Maybe this is what truth really costs. Not peace, not forgiveness, just loss. The kind that gets inside your bones and never lets go. Then through the chaos, I heard it, a voice faint, shaky mum. It was barely a whisper, carried on the wind, but it was real. Daniel, I screamed, running toward the sound. And for the first time that night, hope flickered through the darkness. Daniel, his name tore out of my throat, half scream, half prayer. Red and blue lights flashed across the river, painting the dark water in streaks of color. Mark was already halfway down the embankment, slipping through snow and mud, shouting again and again. Then, from below, a faint voice. Dad, over here. Relief and terror hit me all at once. My knees almost buckled. I scrambled down after Mark, branches clawing at my arms. When we reached the edge of the river, the flashlight beam caught him. Daniel, clinging to a half-submerged log, soaked to the bone, breath shallow and shaking. The current wasn't strong, but the water was ice. One slip, and he'd be gone. Don't move, Mark shouted. Stay where you are. I can't feel my hands. Daniel gasped. Hold on, son. Mark kicked off his boots and waded in. No hesitation, no fear. Just a father who wasn't going to lose his son again. The freezing water hit him hard, but he pushed forward, step by step, until he reached Daniel. Got you, he said, grabbing his arm. You're okay, I've got you. But Daniel struggled, shaking his head. No, let me go. You don't get to save me now. Mark held tighter, his voice breaking. You listen to me. I already lost you once. I'm not doing it again. The water churned around them, cold, violent, relentless. Daniel's strength faded fast, and in one desperate move, Mark pulled him free from the log and dragged him toward the bank. Rescue lights flared. Hands reached down, pulling them both up. Blankets, radios, shouting chaos and relief mixing in the freezing air. I dropped to my knees beside Daniel, brushing the wet hair from his forehead. His lips were blue, his breath shaky, but he was alive. Mom, he whispered, voice trembling. I'm sorry. No, I cried. You don't apologize. You hear me? You stay with me. You fight it. Mark knelt beside us, shivering, coughing. For the first time in years, I saw something in his eyes. Not guilt, not pride, fear, and love. I should have told the truth, he said quietly. I thought I was protecting you, but I was just protecting myself. Daniel looked up at him, tears mixing with river water. You could have told me, Dad. You could have let me take it. Mark's voice cracked. You were just a kid. You had your whole life ahead of you. I wanted to save you, and I didn't see I was breaking you instead. The medics cut through the silence, lifting Daniel onto a stretcher, wrapping him in blankets. As they carried him toward the ambulance, he reached out, weak but steady. Mom, don't let him come. Not right now. I held his hand tight. Okay, sweetheart. I'll be right behind you. He nodded faintly, eyes closing as they loaded him in. The siren wailed, slicing through the cold air as the ambulance disappeared down the road. Mark stood beside me, soaked, shaking, staring into nothing. Guilt, fear, love, all tangled together. I thought I could handle the truth, I said quietly. Turns out, I can't even look at it. Mark didn't reply, just whispered, almost to himself. I never wanted it to end like this. The snow kept falling, slow and steady, covering the footprints we'd left behind, like the night itself was trying to erase everything that happened. But some truths, they don't melt away. They stay buried deep, waiting for morning light to show what's left standing. Hospitals have a strange kind of quiet, not peaceful, heavy, the kind that sits on your chest and makes every breath feel like effort. By the time I reached the ER, the adrenaline was gone. My hands trembled, my clothes still damp from the snow. A nurse met me at the desk, calm and steady. He's stable, she said softly. Hypothermic, but awake. The doctor's with him now. Stable. That one word hit like a life raft in an ocean of chaos. Mark came in a few minutes later, wrapped in a blanket the paramedics had given him. His face was pale, lips trembling. He didn't speak, just sat beside me, staring at the floor. For a long time, neither of us said a word, only the hum of machines, the ticking of a clock, and the faint echo of voices behind closed doors. Finally, I whispered, "We have to tell the police." Mark looked up, startled. "What? You heard me? About that night, Ridgeway Road?" He shook his head fast. "Ellen, no, not now. Not while he's not now." I snapped. "When, then? You think there's ever going to be a good time to confess to a hit?" His eyes flashed. "It's been 8 years. They closed that case. Bringing it up now won't help anyone." "It'll help our son," I said. He's been drowning in guilt since he was 15. You'd think that just disappears. Mark dragged a hand through his hair, breaking. If we tell them, he could still face charges. And me, I'll go to prison for lying. We'll lose everything. I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, I realized everything didn't mean the same thing to us anymore. I already lost everything, I said quietly. The day our son stopped trusting us. He turned away, didn't argue, didn't have to. Then, footsteps. A doctor appeared. Mrs. Cooper. I stood up so fast, my knees nearly buckled. He's going to be okay, she said gently. We're keeping him overnight for observation. But he's alert. He asked for you. Relief hit so hard I could barely breathe. You can see him now, she added. Inside, the steady beeping of a monitor filled the silence. Daniel looked pale, exhausted, but alive. He managed a faint smile. Hey, Mom. Hey, sweetheart, I whispered, taking his hand. There was peace in his eyes now, the kind that comes after too much pain. I didn't mean for it to go that far, he said softly. I just wanted it to stop hurting. Tears burned my eyes. I know, baby, but you scared me half to death. He gave a weak laugh. Guess that makes us even. I brushed his hair back. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. His voice cracked. Mom, I have to make it right. I nodded. Then we will. Together. The door creaked. Mark stood there, hesitant, unsure. Daniel's eyes hardened. What are you doing here? Mark's voice was low. I needed to see you. To say, I'm sorry. Silence heavy, honest. Finally Daniel said, you can't undo what happened, Dad. But you can stop hiding from it. Mark nodded slowly. You're right. He looked at both of us, and something in him shifted, the weight finally breaking. I'll tell them, he said. The truth. All of it. My breath caught. Mark, he shook his head. No more lies. Ellen. He deserves better. We both do. For the first time in years, I saw something real in his eyes. Not fear, not guilt. Courage. And even though I knew the road ahead would be brutal, I also knew this. This was the first honest step we'd taken as a family in a very long time. The truth had torn us apart. But maybe, just maybe, it could be the thing that finally put us back together. Fade out. The next morning, the world outside the hospital was still buried in snow. Quiet, untouched, peaceful. But inside, it felt different. The truth wasn't hiding anymore. It was sitting right there with us. Heavy, unyielding, impossible to ignore. Mark hadn't slept. I could tell by the way he sat in the corner of Daniel's room. Eyes bloodshot. Hands locked together like he was trying to hold himself from falling apart. When I walked in with 2 coffees, he looked up. I'm going to the station today. I froze. You're sure? He nodded. Yeah. I meant what I said. I'm done lying. Daniel shifted in bed. Still pale but awake. You don't have to do that, he said quietly. Mark turned to him. Yes, I do. It's time. For a long moment, the air was thick with silence. 2 men who'd been fighting ghosts for years, finally looking each other in the eye. Mark's voice cracked. You were a kid, Daniel. I should have told the truth back then. I thought I was protecting you, protecting your mom, but all I did was bury us alive. Daniel's voice was hoarse. You can't fix it now. Mark nodded slowly. No, but I can stop pretending. He stood, pulled on his coat, and looked at me. I'll call you when it's done. I wanted to stop him, to tell him there had to be another way, but deep down, I knew this was the way. When he left, the room felt colder. Daniel stared out the window, voice small. Do you think they'll charge him? I swallowed. I don't know, he nodded, eyes glassy. I never wanted to ruin his life. I took his hand. You didn't. You just wanted him to tell the truth. That's not ruining, that's saving. He didn't reply, just turned his face away. Hours later, the phone rang. Mark's voice was calm to calm. I told them everything, he said. Every detail. The night, the cover-up, the settlement, even the old insurance papers. My chest tightened. What did they say? They're reopening the case. I'll give a formal statement tomorrow. There was exhaustion in his tone, but also something I hadn't heard in years, relief. For the first time, it sounded like he could finally breathe. That evening, after Daniel fell asleep, I stepped outside. The snow was still falling, soft, relentless, endless. Mark's truck pulled up, headlights dim in the white haze. He climbed out, face blank, eyes raw. They might charge me, he said. Maybe even both of us. Lying on record, obstruction. I nodded. I figured. He looked at me, voice breaking. Do you hate me for this? I took a slow breath. I hate what you did. But I don't hate you. I can't. He exhaled, his breath fogging in the cold. I never stopped trying to fix it. I just didn't know how. Sometimes fixing it isn't the point, I said quietly. Sometimes it's just about facing it. We stood there, side by side, silent. The snow fell between us, cold, honest, unfiltered. When I went back inside, Daniel was awake, eyes open. Did he do it? I nodded. He told them everything. Tears welled up. Then, maybe now, I can breathe again. I brushed his hair back and whispered, maybe we all can. Outside, the sirens that once haunted our nights were gone. The truth was finally out. But the real test, what comes after, was only just beginning. Fade to black. By morning, the whole town already knew. In a place like ours, secrets don't stay buried. They just wait for someone to dig them up. The local paper ran it online. Man comes forward in decade-old Ridgeway Road case. It didn't name Daniel, just Mark, but everyone could connect the dots. When I walked into the hospital cafeteria for coffee, the room went quiet. Conversations froze mid. Eyes followed me, pity, judgment, curiosity, all blending together into one heavy stare. By the time I got back to Daniel's room, he was sitting up, scrolling through his phone. His face was pale, jaw tight. They're talking about it everywhere, he said quietly. People I haven't spoken to in years are texting me like they care. I sat beside him. Don't read it, Daniel. Can't help it, he said. It's like the truth finally came out, and everyone turned it into entertainment. I didn't have an answer. I just took his hand. Let them talk. You did the right thing. He gave a tired laugh. Funny. The right thing feels like it's tearing us apart. Mark showed up later that morning, looking 10 years older overnight. Lines carved deep into his face. Eyes hollow but steady. The DA's office called. He said, there'll be a hearing next week. Daniel's head snapped up. A hearing? Mark nodded. They said it's unlikely there'll be serious charges after all this time. Maybe fines. Probation. I asked softly. And the man? The one who was hurt? Mark hesitated. He doesn't live here anymore. But the officer said they reached him. He knows we came forward. The silence that followed was heavy. Daniel whispered, what if he hates me? Mark shook his head. He has every right to, but maybe hearing the truth from us will count for something. Daniel just looked away, snowlight flickering across his face. That afternoon, Mark and I sat across from a detective in the same small office we'd been in years ago. Only now, we weren't lying. The detective's tone was calm but firm. I can't promise leniency, but telling the truth now, that matters. Mark nodded. It's long overdue. When it was my turn to sign my statement, my hands shook. I hadn't lied to the police back then, but I'd lived inside that lie. Signing that paper felt like finally putting the ghosts to rest. When we left the station, the sun was setting. The snow turned gold under the light, warm, forgiving, almost peaceful. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. That evening, Daniel was awake, TV flickering across his face. He muted it the second we walked in. Did you do it? Mark nodded. We did. Daniel studied him for a long moment. Then, barely above a whisper, thank you. Mark swallowed. Don't thank me, son. Just live better than I did. Daniel gave the faintest smile. I'll try. I looked at them. Father and son. Two broken pieces, finally starting to fit again. For years, lies had built walls between us. But now, even cracked and messy, those walls were finally coming down. The town would keep whispering. The headlines would fade. But what mattered wasn't their noise. It was our truth. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt something like hope. Still, as the snow fell outside the window that night, one thought kept circling in my mind. The truth may set you free, but it never lets you go easy. Winter wouldn't let go that year. Even